Welcome back, friends. Got Granddad's hat on today. Every time I wear this hat, people ask me where I got it, and I remember my granddad wearing it. So I remember him wearing this. He would always wear it whenever we'd go get firewood, or the last time he came out here, he got to visit here before he passed away. He was wearing this hat. I remember when I was a boy, I used to spend a lot of time, they lived close by, I used to spend a lot of time over there, and Granddad worked as a mechanic, and he would get home exactly the same time every night. And I remember sitting on the couch and just looking at that window as a boy, just waiting and looking at the clock and just waiting, and the excitement for him to come in. It always seemed like it took so long. You know, he had a routine. He would bring his car in, and he'd come in the garage, and he would sit down on the step there, and he would take off his work shoes, and he'd put his house shoes on and come inside. You know, it was always such an event. And my grandmother would have dinner ready. It was a lot of routines, a lot of calmness, and man, I miss that sometimes. It was a simple life, not a lot of things and not a lot of stuff going on. Contrast with mine, and it seems like it's just, you know, so many things going in so many directions. I was telling Mrs. W the other day when we came home from being on the road for a few days, and just the simplicity away from electronics and the responsibilities of all of the unfinished projects. You guys can relate to that. I said, you know, sometimes I wish that we would pull in and just see a smoking crater. The relief that would fall off of a guy, you know, just to, yeah, it's all gone, and does it really matter? My family's around me, and I'm healthy, and let's start over, and let's keep it simpler this time. I'll share a story. He told me, he always said, you know, a guy, if you really want to get to know a guy, just take him hunting, and you'll know what type of guy you have. He, of course, you know, got out of the war, World War II, and started hunting Eastern Oregon for elk and deer hunting over there in, that must have been like 1946, 47 or so. Hunted with his brother and with his good friends, and I remember one time, this must have been in the 50s, maybe it was the 40s, yeah, I think maybe it was just after the war. One of the guys he worked with kept hounding him, hey Chet, take me hunting with you, take me hunting with you. And finally he relented and took him hunting, and this guy had never been before and didn't know a whole lot about it. And one thing that was really precious to Granddad in those days was his mother would make jam. She would can, they would go pick berries, huckleberries was his favorite. It's hard to pick huckleberries, you know, you can't cultivate them. You have to actually go up in the mountain, and they're like blueberries, but they're smaller, and they're fewer and far in between, and you really earn them. I mean, to pick a bowl of huckleberries is really something. It takes a long time. So the whole family would go up and pick them, and she'd make these jars of jam, and they were precious. You know, you'd be in the basement, you know, kept safe, and you'd break them out, you know, and you'd savor it because it was just so rare. So they had been saving up these jars of huckleberry jam, and just for the special occasion of going hunting and enjoying it on their bread and on their pancakes, right? So they set up their tent, and they were hunting, and or getting ready to go hunting, and making breakfast in the morning, and they take out this precious huckleberry jam and just put the smallest little bit on there. You know, he wanted to make it last. Well, this guy that came with him, you know, he didn't really understand, and he really liked that huckleberry jam. And so he was spooning off big old globs of it, you know, like more on one piece of bread than they would eat in 3 days. And they were so polite, you know, Midwest folks, you know, they don't like to offend. They were so polite, you know, they're trying to figure out a way to get this guy to stop eating all of their jam, right? Because it was diminishing quick, right? So the only thing they had as an alternative to that on their pancakes was the old Brer Rabbit molasses, that blackstrap molasses or whatever it is. It's pretty nasty stuff. I've tasted it. I don't really care for it. I don't think anyone really cares for it all that much. But I think back in the day it was cheaper and it was available. That's what it was. And so they started saying, they came up with a plan to fool this guy. so they broke out that Brer Rabbit molasses, and they started pouring that on their hot cakes and such, and they were really talking it up, right? They were saying, man, oh man, that Brer Rabbit molasses, that's some good stuff, isn't it, Chet? Oh yeah, Speed, that's some good, that's some good stuff right there. And their friend, he's sitting there looking at him, and he's, of course, you know, he's helping himself quite liberally to the huckleberry jam, and he's eating that stuff, and he's looking at him, and he says, you boys can go ahead and have that Brer Rabbit molasses. I like this huckleberry jam. I'll never ever forget that story, and I don't think they ever did say anything to him about it, you know, of course, you know, being Midwest folk, but well, he wasn't invited back, right? So Granddad always says, you know a guy, if you want to get to know a guy, just take him hunting, and that's what you find out. So I wanted to talk, that was not what my point today was. The point was, I wanted to address a subscriber question that came to me, and out of sincerity, that was is a new Christian and was really struggling with the idea that he's been told, or he's read, that a Christian is supposed to love his neighbor as himself. And who is your neighbor? Well, it's quite clear our neighbor is everyone, and that could even be your enemy. How do you go about doing something like that? How do you love someone who has betrayed you? How do you love for someone, for example, that has maybe stolen from you, or worse, taken your wife or girlfriend, or even maybe harmed your children? Is that asking too much? Is that even possible to do something like that? I know that was a real problem for me a long time, because as I came into the church and I read this, and I came across this same thing as myself, and I really struggled with it. And I looked around, and I thought that I was the only one that didn't have the ability to do that. And I thought that because I wasn't able to genuinely feel a sense of love for people that were even just my neighbors, or just, you know, acquaintances or friends, when I couldn't even love them, how was I supposed to ever possibly love someone who had betrayed me? And I just chalked it up to the fact that I wasn't good enough. I was doing something wrong. I wasn't trying hard enough, and I tried to manufacture it. And I think a lot of folks will do that, and maybe out on appearances. Maybe people believe, or maybe because it's something that they say, but I don't think people really do. I know I didn't. So the thing that helped me the most was years ago I came across, and I've got to give credit to C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis, of course, if you haven't figured out already, is a huge had a huge influence on me. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. He was an incredible teacher, incredible intellect. God puts people on earth like that to guide other folks, and anyway, so I'll kind of play into that. He described it like this. So what does it mean to love yourself, right? Do you if you're gonna be honest, if you look at yourself in the mirror, can you honestly say that you love yourself in everything that you do and everything that you've done? Because if I was going to be honest, there are days, not my better days, where I lack kindness, patience, where I might find myself to be egotistical, all manner of things. And when I reflect upon that, and I reflect on maybe how I treated my family or how I treated folks, I don't love myself at all. I've had moments like that, or evenings like that, where I found it difficult, maybe impossible, to even look myself in the mirror, because I was so ashamed of the way that I had conducted myself throughout the day. So loving oneself doesn't mean you think that you're a fabulous guy. What loving oneself means is you provide for yourself, right? It means that you make sure that you have enough to eat. Make sure that you have a warm house to live in. You have clothes to put on your back, a car to drive, gasoline to put in there. It means you take care of yourself, right? You put yourself first. Make sure that you're provided for, so you can do the things that you need to do in life. And once I realized that loving oneself doesn't mean that you need to make something up or pretend something that isn't true, because who are you lying to? You're not lying. I mean, you're lying to other people because you yourself know the truth. And I guarantee God knows the truth as well. So that was a great relief to me to finally figure that out. Because I don't particularly love myself. I don't at all. I always, when you start contrasting yourself to the perfection of Christ, and at the end of the day, you don't know, you're not feeling too good about yourself, are you? So loving oneself, or loving your neighbor as yourself, or loving your enemy as yourself means to look after them, to provide for them, to make sure that they have the things that they need in life. It's not about manufacturing something that doesn't exist. So once you understand that, that's a great relief. For me anyway, it was telling me that I'm not completely lost. You know, I haven't haven't been abandoned. It's not, I don't lack some particular Christian trait that is elusive to me that prevents me from going, you know, from going forward. So I thought I'd share that with you. I hope maybe that will help. If it doesn't help, just disregard it. But it has helped me tremendously. So what is our responsibility? Well, I don't think that we have the ability, apart from having Christ in us, to be kind to people that we don't like or that betray us. He gives us. It's one of the most powerful proofs that God is real, that Christianity is real, and in that someone, when you have Christ in you, someone that has betrayed you, done you wrong, someone that you have hated in the past, that you can forgive and stop packing that around. It's a powerful thing. It's not something that we can do on our own. So I hope that answers your question. I'll keep that anonymous, you know, who was asking, but that's been a great help for me, and I hope that's a great help for you. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.